Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another lecture of discrete mathematics. My name is Dr. Bilal Wajid. Now, we started this lecture series by the principle of quadrivium. And in the first lecture, we talked about some properties of the number zero. In the second lecture, we focused on why x divided by zero is not a number. And in this lecture, we'll talk why is x raised to the power zero equal to 1. So let's first start by exponents. So what is an exponent and what does it mean when you say x raised power y? Well, x raised power 1 is x, and x square is x multiplied by itself 2 times. X cubed, therefore, is x multiplied by itself 3 times. And, extending the same principle, xn is x multiplied by itself n times. Now, how does this discussion relate to x raised to power 0 being equal to 1? Well, let's hold that thought for a while and let's go backwards this time. Let's look at xn. We did say, well, it's x multiplied by itself n times, but it's the same thing if I multiply this whole thing with 1. It doesn't change anything. Now, going back to x cubed, we know well that x cubed is 3 times x multiplying by itself. Well, we can also multiply by this by 1 and nothing changes. Doing the same with x squared, you see that it's x squared times 1. Doing the same thing with x, you get the same thing. And extending this backwards, x raised to power 0 would mean don't multiply x with 1. Right? So you see x1 is 1 times 1 instance of x squared is 1 times 2 instances of x cubed is 1 times 3 instances of x0 is 1 times no instance of x. It's because of that reason x raised to power 0 is equal to 1. Now, interestingly, there's another way of looking at it as well. Okay, let's look at the second way of looking at it. Well, you know that x cubed is x times x times x. Well, and we also know that x squared is x times x. So what is x cubed divided by x squared? Well, it's x raised to power 3 over x raised to power 2. Now you can expand this and you have x cubed and x squared and they cut each other out and you have only x that remains. Now, doing the same thing in terms of indices. Well, what is x cubed divided by x squared? Well, in terms of indices, it's the same as saying x raised to power 3 minus 2. And expanding this would make x raised to power 1, which is x. But what if you divide something by itself? What is x cubed divided by x cubed? Well, we know that x cubed divided by x cubed is x cubed over x cubed. So you have 3 instances of x in the numerator and 3 instances of x in the denominator. They cancel each other out and you have 1. Well, stating the same thing in terms of indices, you have x3 divided by x3, which is x raised to power 3 minus 3, which is x raised to power 0. And we know that from this example above, we know that's equal to 1. So there you have it. 2 examples, both of which explaining 2 different ways of explaining why is anything raised to the power 0 equal to 1. Well, in the first lecture, we did this. In this lecture, we talked about exponents. In the next lecture, we'll talk about why is 0 factorial equal to 1. Until next time, thank you very much.